comic book fans, welcome to another exciting edition of Cammy's Comic Corner. I'm your host as always, Cammy. Now I'm finally back in action. Comic-Con was last week and it just totally rocked my world. I got 30 gigs of footage and it's all in high def, that's why it's so big. So not to worry, you're going to get that show eventually. It's going to be coming up within the next couple of weeks. I originally thought I'd get 4 interviews, but end of the day got 8. So it's just fantastic. I got a contest and everything. It'll be great. So look forward to that episode. But let's get on to the pick of the week. From DC Comics we have Detective Comics number 855, written by Greg Rucka and art by J.H. Williams III. Now I think if I had to really specify why this book was picked this week, I'd have to say it was J.H. Williams III's art. Just totally gorgeous, rocked my world, and it was just such a fantastic compliment to Rucka's story that I just had to pick it as pick of the week. It was just, it would have been stupid and chaotic if I hadn't. So anyway, we follow Batwoman taking down Alice, the new villain, the new head of the crime, or the religion of crime, and so she tear gasses her, beats up her goons, takes her to a higher up place where they can just two girls chit-chat. And she's just always glowing, and even if her mascara's running and red lips are coming, they just pop, and it's just so beautiful to look at. But she's not all so sweet and cuddly herself. Like Batwoman's disarming her of knives, guns, but she doesn't get the razor that's inside her mouth that she, spits out and slices Batwoman with. And it's poison, so she's hallucinating, and she has to run away, and then the goons come and find her. It's just such a fantastic story. Her dad has to come rescue her at the end, but now they have to go up against Alice and her creatures that we don't really know all that much about. So if you're looking for a killer story to go along with even more killer art, hands down, Detective 855 this week. Now on to the Fast Five. From DC, we have Blackest Night, Tales of the Corps, number 3. Now, the thing that really I was enjoying about this issue was Kilowog's little origin story on how he first came into the Corps, why he thought the trainer was so harsh, and what's up with that. And it turns out at the end he finds out that, he is a leader, and the reason he's so hard on all of them is because he doesn't want to lose them. He doesn't want them to fuck up and make a mistake. And there's just this one page at the end where he has his instructor dying in his hands, and his instructor, with his own blood, paints the Green Lantern logo on his chest, and it's just like, oh, wow. You also get Aricia, how she comes from a long line of Green Lanterns, and also commentary by Jeff Johns and the editors on Blackest Night number 0. So you get bang for your buck in this issue, gorgeous art, great story, what's not to like? Next up from Marvel we have Fantastic Four number 569. Now, of course, the one Fantastic Four book that I really like is the last issue. Like, Millar and Hitch's run, and Millar's run in general, wasn't really a fan of, but in this one he brings it all together, he ties up some loose ends, and we get reintroduced to Clyde Wincham, who we first saw back in 1985, which he wrote with Tommy Lee Edwards. And he's a mutant from another world, and he one day becomes Doom's master, but he has an old fight between himself and his future self, where they have the battle of minds, like whose heroes can defeat whose villains. Well, unfortunately, Clyde loses to Doom's master, but the Fantastic Four beat him to a pulp, and then Dr. Doom comes back himself to finish up the job. It was very nice art by Stuart Immonen, and it was a very nice closing to Millar's run on the Fantastic Four. Next up from Vertigo we have Northlanders number 19. Now this is the Shield Maidens, part 2 of 2. Brian Wood tells the story of all these Danish gals defending themselves and their treasure from a bunch of Saxons. And they keep on attacking the castle bit by bit, but the women keep slaughtering them left and right. Finally they decide, they come to discover that they're probably going to have an attack from the sea and by land and get them right there in the middle. So they decide to go ahead and get the hell out of Dodge, split up, go their separate ways, and then rendezvous somewhere in the future. Well, 7 years down the line, they reunite, they're making sales, and they have a little bit of their fortune left, and it's enough to live off the end of their days. and it was a very nice two-part story. With this one, hopefully, we'll have the next volume of Northlanders come out with just the one-shots, or the two-shots, to make a nice little hearty graphic novel, because I don't want to brag or anything. But at Comic-Con, I got my copy of Volume 2 signed by Mr. Ryan Kelly, and that was pretty badass. So, Northlanders, if you like Vikings, it's all good in the hood. Next up, from Avatar, we have Ignition City number 4. Now, if I were to have one catchphrase for the week, it would be, "Science will fuck you." And that's right, it comes from Dr. Vukovic, as he comes out guns a-blazing, saving Miss Mary Raven from being pinned down from these two goons taking shots at her. And they reunite after being many years apart. She remembers first meeting him and thinking he was so amazing for making these spaceships, while the other kids were looking at the celebrities, and that brought a tear to his eye. So, you know, it's something he remembers. They talk about how her dad died, he gives her some shelter, and there's only one issue left in this series, and that's going to be pretty much Mary versus Lightning, and Lightning calling in for reinforcements because he's a pussy to take her on himself. So, a lot of good stuff coming up. The art on this series is amazing, and again, Warren Ellis bringing his A-game. And finally this week from DC, we have Justice League of America number 35. Excuse me, what? Justice League? The book that's been so horrible for the past couple of years? That's right, I had fun with this issue. One reason why? The return of Plastic Man to the JLA, and he is just up to his zany self again. First of all, you have a nice classic story of the Royal Flush Gang versus the Justice League. It's not the big hitters of the Justice League, but Plastic Man just sold the issue for me. Slot machine, he's a human target. He's just having his old fun, and just the fun, witty banter that I miss so much from this man of plastic. So anyway, it's Firestorm, Vixen, Red Tornado, and Dr. Light and Plastic Man versus the Royal Flush Gang. There's another higher power, it's Roulette, and Professor Amos Fortune. So it's going to be an interesting couple of issues, but with Len Wein, the legendary Len Wein, at the helm, I think I might stay on for Justice League this time around. Looks like a good time. Well, comic book fans, that does it this week. If you want more Cammy's Comic Corner goodness, head on over to www.cammyscomic-corner.com. From there you can subscribe to us on the RSS feed or on iTunes. And also, I just recently added a Comic-Con section where I write about what happened day by day and even have some video up from preview night. Not to worry, like I said before in the beginning, it's going to be coming, the actual Comic-Con episode will be coming in a couple of weeks. Also, if you like any of the kick-ass t-shirts that you see me wearing, head on over to www.deadlinegraphics.net and send Kelly an email. He has everything Green Lantern, he has anything Superman, Marvel, DC, Image, Dark Horse, what have you. There's only one name that I trust when it comes to comic book t-shirts, and that is Kelly, over at www.deadlinegraphics.net. And also, Rising Sun Creations at rsc-online.com. They are a sponsor of the show, and they were at Comic-Con. I got to stop by the booth, and apparently business was booming for them, so I'm glad to hear that. They specialize in U.S. comic books, manga, and collectible toys imported straight from Japan. If you want any of that goodness, head on over to rsc-online.com, check out their online store, and, tell them that Cammy sent you. Thanks again to Rising Sun Creations. Well, comic book fans, that does it this week. I'm happy to be back in the chair, happy to be reviewing comics. Fortunately, I couldn't review the comics from last week because, let me tell you, that Amazing Spider-Man 600 would have been my pick of the week. Anyway, this has been Cammy's Comic Corner. Head on over to cammyscomic-corner.com for more goodness, and follow me on Twitter. Twitter/camcomic-corner.com. I swore to myself I'd never do it, but alas, here I am. Tweeting away. Tweeting away!